Let's go over to age. The discussion around age. President Biden would be the oldest man to ever be reelected to the Oval Office. He would be 86 years old should he be reelected on the day that he would actually leave the White House, should he live to serve that long. And the American people are very not only cognizant of it, they're not very happy about the fact that they have such old men who are running for president. And the White House was actually confronted with that yesterday. Let's take a listen.
A new AP poll asked Americans an open-ended question on their thoughts on the president, and the most common response has to do with his age, how old he is in total president history. Does the White House have additional plans to demonstrate that he can continue to, do the job at his advanced age and kind of allay some of those concerns?
I mean, look. I appreciate the question. I get it often, as you know, what I would say, and I've said this many times, and many of my colleagues have said this, the president says this, if you watch him, if you've seen what he's done the last 2 years, this is a president has had a historic administration. That is important. And so that's what we will happily to discuss as it relates to age, what the president has been able to do and how he's been able to deliver.
Well, all right, you can discuss it. Let's be real, they haven't discussed it at all. And Biden hasn't even sat for an interview except for, I believe, the Weather Channel in the last couple of months. Let's go ahead and start put this up there.
He did one with some wellness podcast.
Oh, I apologize. You're totally right.
I don't know if that was in the past month, but that was the other recent
That's
one.
right. His most recent one was also a wellness podcast. No disrespect to my wellness podcasters out there, but that's not, there's a reason he didn't come on any political show. So this is the poll that he was referencing. Do you think Joe Biden is too old to effectively serve another 4-year term as president? Overall, 77% yes, no, 22%. Democrats, even the vast majority of Democrats at 69, and then of course the vast majority of Republicans. In terms of Trump, do you think Donald Trump is too old to be effectively serve another 4-year term as president? Overall, 51% yes. No is 49%. Democrats, 71%. More people think Trump is too old than Biden. That's interesting. For Democrats, 29% say no. Republicans, 28% say yes, and 72% say no. So the significant difference between the two of them really is that even the vast majority of Democrats think Biden is too old to serve as president. Let's go to the next one, please, here. Majorities of both younger and older Democrats really believe Biden is too old, with 77% of 18 to 44 saying yes. Democrats, 45 plus saying 62% yes. 18 to 29, 76%. So really it does show you that the millennial voter and or Gen Z voter in the Democratic Party is very fed up with the age of President Biden. And I think what it shows you, let's go to the next one here as well, about the majorities of older and younger, is that even though what we have here, what stuck out to me, was that the adults who are 60 plus, even they also say 71%. That Biden is too old to run for president. So up and down the overall age demographics, Krystal, it is clear that the voters at every level of age, both partisan, independent, Republican, Democrat, with Biden in particular, are very struck by the man's age. And I think that that is one where there is a fundamental difference in the way that they view Trump. And whether it's fair or not, I think it just comes down to aesthetics and observation. I mean, Trump just doesn't appear to be all that different than how he was whenever he was in the Oval Office, or really on the national stage since 2015.
Yeah.
But with Biden, I mean, the pronounced decline, we've known this man for 50 years. You know, I literally remember him doing interviews, 2016. I played many of them here on the show. In terms of his cogent ability to form a sentence, it is night and day the difference of even 5-6 years ago compared to where we are right now. And then imagine 5 years from now is whenever he would be leaving the Oval Office. That's how crazy that things are whenever people have to consider this. And that's why it's reflected in the polling data.
So this was interesting too. They asked people the first word that comes to mind when they think of Biden and the first word that comes to mind when they think of Trump. For Biden, 26% of all adults, so more than a quarter, cited Biden's age, and then an additional 15% mentioned words associated with being slow and confused, while for Trump, only 1 in 3% did so. So, I think to your point, Saagar, like people just evaluating the performance and the energy level of these two candidates, they've come to different conclusions about where they are in their aging process. However, this poll did not contain good news for Donald Trump either. For Trump, nearly a quarter mentioned words associated with corruption, crime, lying, or untrustworthiness, while only 8% mentioned those traits for Biden. So basically, American people think both of these guys are old and corrupt. But for Biden, it's the age that really leads the concerns. And for Trump, it's really the corruption, crime, lying, untrustworthiness that leads the concern. So this is some election that we're headed into, guys. Really inspiring stuff.
I think that's very important for people to understand. And that's why, it fits actually with what we're discussing here. We began our show talking about Trump's trial dates, and that's really what people consider the most about him. And even before that, the vast majority of Americans, they didn't particularly like Trump. Many people who voted for him actually didn't like him at all. Many people had unfavorable views and still decided to vote because of negative partisanship. With Biden, I mean, there was a real hold your nose phenomenon in terms of beating Trump back in 2020. And the question is only, will that hold on to where we are right now in 2024? And the considerations and the concern about his age is only even more today than it was before. And people have to consider that this isn't a one-term, this is a two-term president that we'd be sending until the very, far into his septuagenarian age, that we would have in the Oval Office in charge of the most powerful, have the most power of any man on earth. And I think that difference in the choice, it could marginally make enough of a difference. But then, at the same time, I could make the same case. Trump is so repellent. The attitudes around him all that haven't changed. People are willing to hold their nose and vote for Biden once. Why wouldn't they do it again? They rewarded the Democrats, for negative partisanship reasons, mostly in 2022. No reason why they wouldn't do it in 2024. The only downside to that, though, I think, is Kamala Harris, who they know would be the president should Biden die. And that is a major consideration for a lot of voters.
Yeah, I think it is. I think that the Democrats do themselves a real disservice by trying to stick with Biden and close out any possibility of even having a debate within the Democratic Party, because you can see even among their base voters, they're really concerned. They really want to have other options. They really want to have a, full democratic process. They have an overwhelming majority worries about Biden's age as well. And so if you really want to beat Trump, if that is actually your goal, if you really believe your rhetoric about the fascists being at the door, then you would do everything you could to try to identify the best candidate to defeat Donald Trump. But they are not interested in doing that. They've decided that, they're just going to lock everything down and keep pretend there isn't even a democratic process playing out, pretend that Biden has no competitors whatsoever, and just cross their fingers and hope that, the trials and the crimes and the chaos and stop the steal and abortion and all of these things are enough to get them over the finish line again. And listen, like you said, Saagar, if I had to bet, I would say they're probably right. I think it probably is. It's hard to beat an incumbent president, even one with as many concerns as Joe Biden has. The fact that all of these trial dates are going to focus Americans back on Stop the Steal and all of these things that they really hated about Donald Trump, I think probably, doesn't help out Donald Trump, even though you just never know how these things are going to play out. But listen, they're playing with fire. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct.
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.